Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 132 of the Run in the Paint podcast, back in person. I'm Miles here with Joey and Ben. Guys, how are you doing today?
Feeling good, feeling great. What a game we just watched.
Ben, how are you doing?
Just like chill, feeling good, doing great. Really happy to make it out for a watch party with these guys, and then to finally be back on another in-person podcast. Woohoo!
Yes, sir. Back
Let's
in
do it.
person after a pivotal Game 5 of the finals, which has a ton of storylines that we will get to from on the court. We have a trade that happened during the finals, a huge trade that we will get to and talk about and break down and all that. So we'll get into all that. But first, let's get into Pirtle. Now, after our previous in-person podcast, we had an utter fail.
We don't want to talk about that.
But when we hopped back on the last episode, we did pretty solid in Pirtle. I don't remember who the player. It was Paulo Banchero, and we got him in 3. So we're off to we're getting back there a little bit after 1. So we'll see if we can continue our road back to success here. Who is the first player that we should guess, Ben? Let's get a player.
Ingram.
All right, Brandon Ingram. We're gonna start with another Raptor. Let's see where this gets us. All right.
Oh,
So this is going to be a Western Conference forward, 6'6" or 6'7". That's going to be younger than 25 years old and numbered higher than 16, since those things aren't highlighted yellow. Here, I'll pull up the list of the teams so we can get an idea, but not a horrible guess. I mean, we could get somewhere with this. Younger
wing.
with a higher jersey number. I think that could be the thing that could help us here, especially with the 6'6", 6'7". Man, a younger forward that wears a high jersey number.
No.
Smaller than 6'8". 6'7" or smaller.
Let's see.
Or about probably around 6'8".
Yeah, I'm trying to think of some good players that wear those high jersey numbers. Who fits is Tamani Kamara from the Blazers.
I will always be down with the Blazers player.
All right, let's go with Tamani Kamara. Let's see where that can get us. Tamani Kamara. Okay. Geez, same height. Oh my goodness. All right. But not in the Northwest Division. It's going to be 24, 23 years old, and it's
what number
less than 30.
Desmond Bain?
Desmond Bain is...
I wonder if they updated it yet.
Well, with the Memphis Grizzlies, he was the number 22. But he's not going to be that young.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
He's 26.
Yeah. So, all right, let's keep going here. I think we could get this in 3. So this is going to rule out, let's see, Denver, Minnesota, Utah, obviously Portland. And who's the last? Oh, OKC.
Yeah.
So let's see, man. Oh, man.
It's kind of hard.
This is tough. 24, 23 years old. I'm blanking on specific players here. I'm going through the standings here. Houston Rockets.
There's a lot of people on the Houston Rockets.
I don't think that any of them wear a jersey number that high, though. Oh, unless it's Tari Eason.
I was thinking Tari Eason because it's outside the.
Let's go with it. Tari Eason.
All right.
Dang, dude. All right, we have our division, though. Another 6'8" guy, but we know for sure this is going to be a 23-year-old forward in the Southwest Division. So it's going to be either Dallas, San Antonio, Memphis, or New Orleans. Still, this number thing makes it tough.
And what number is Najee Marshall?
Najee Marshall, I think it's a I think it's number 3 or something, or some single-digit number. Gosh, who was I just thinking of? Devin Vassell.
He's 24.
Is he that tall? Oh, he's 24.
Number.
Oh, the number. Yes, he is number 24. So let's see. There's Devin Vassell. There's Trey Murphy.
Yeah.
Is Trey Murphy that tall? Or isn't he?
I think he's 6'7". Oh, man. I don't know. 6'7" or 6'6". I don't think it would be Vassell because he's a guard.
Yeah, he's a guard forward.
Oh, okay.
Gosh. I feel like we're getting somewhere, but it's still...
We're right there.
We're right there. 23-year-old forward.
Could this be Vince Williams of the Grizzlies?
Vince Williams of the Grizzlies. I think he's number 5.
Oh, okay.
Man,
Didn't remember his jersey number.
let's try Trey Murphy and see
Okay.
if that gets us
All right.
anywhere, man. Goodness gracious.
Oh.
We've picked 4 players with the exact same
And he
height.
is between 27 and 30. Or 28 and 30.
Oh my gosh,
For
this
a
should be
number
so
2.
easy, dude. All right, let's go across the board. Memphis, 28, 29, 30. I don't think that exists.
Santi Aldama.
He's number 7.
Oh, is he?
Houston, 28 is Şengün, 28.
No.
Can't be Houston though.
Yeah, I can't.
Oh yeah, he already can't be Houston. Dallas Mavericks, 28, 29, 30. Man, these in-person pearls are really stumping
rough.
us. They're stumping us really well here. My goodness. San Antonio, 28, 29, 30.
I have no idea who's on like San Antonio team. Champagny, is it?
Champagny. You know what?
It could be Champagny. Right?
Oh.
Julian Champagny. Got it. In 5.
Oh, we got it.
Good call,
Oh,
Joey.
I
That's
was
a
just
good
thinking, I
call.
was off. Finally,
Man, that took us a while,
that
man.
took way too long.
I totally forgot about
Oh, those
Champagny.
pennies. They stumped me before on there.
Dang.
They have. Well, let us know how long it took you guys to get Julian Champagny. But now let's get into Game 5 of the finals, where OKC got their momentum from Game 4 and took it into this game. They defeated the Pacers 120-109 to take the 3-2 lead in the NBA Finals. A lot of things to talk about with this game, but I think the first thing that we should talk about is just the duo of the Thunder with Shea and J-Dub both going off, combining for 71 points, J-Dub with 40. Ben, where do you want to start with those two guys and their performances?
Just yeah, what a duo performance by those guys. Both of those guys were just phenomenal with the scoring, especially J-Dub. Wow, I think he had the best game of his career tonight with this 40 performance. This is an unbelievable job of stepping up by him tonight, and I really liked his aggressiveness from the jump, and he kept that throughout the game. Just is really impressed with him, and he got to the free throw line a nice amount of times too. That was impressive too. You don't really see him get to the free throw line that much, and Shea, did have his best ever game, but 31 points was still fantastic.
Yeah, it's one of those games that doesn't
They
look
really
like he had that great of a
led
game.
the way for the Thunder, and it was a great team win.
Yeah, I was going to say, I mean, when watching the game, doesn't look like he's going that crazy, but you look at the box score at the end, he's got 31 and 10. I mean, both of those guys were spectacular.
Yeah, it was. I love what you said, Ben. Like J-Dub's aggressiveness throughout the whole game, because Shea was a little off to a slow start, but J-Dub was attacking. Case and Wallace and a couple of the other guys got it early going on, but specifically with J-Dub was just incredible. Shea, the one thing we talked about the last in-person pod I was in, didn't like that Shea had 4 assists to 6 turnovers. And last game, even though they won, he had 0 turnovers or 0 assists.
Yeah.
Not turnovers. This game, he has 10 assists and only 3 turnovers?
Yep.
Much better. They're gonna win a lot of games if that's how it is. Like that duo is, and his playmaking is so underrated. We're gonna talk. You can talk anything you want about the high free throw numbers with him and J-Dub, but the thing that I love watching about Shea's game is his playmaking, because he can pretty much get any basket he wants and can take anything. He has the confidence, but as soon as it collapses and everything, he always seems to make the right pass.
And he does it in such a smooth fashion. Like, it never looks like he's really under pressure that much. And yeah, his playmaking was huge. I mean, across the board, Ben, you and I talked about it a lot in these last 2 games, where it seemed like the Thunder were playing a lot more ISO ball, very slower, and not getting a lot of assists. In Game 4, they had 11 assists as a team. Shea in this game has 10 assists by himself. The Thunder have 24 themselves. And just the way this game started, both teams were on fire. There were a lot more assists to be had, and it was great. The Thunder offense looked a lot better in this game at home than it did in the last 2 games on the road.
Yeah, it sure did. And I was pleased that the Thunder, kind of, played slow, but played at the pace they really like to play at, and I like that they didn't really do too much of the ISO ball because it just led to more guys getting involved. The ball was moving, led to some open shots for guys like Aaron Wiggins and Lou Dort and Casey Wallace, and those guys knocked down multiple threes, which were some big shots, and the Thunder, yeah, just overall really pleased with the game plan offensively from them.
Yeah, I mean, the scoring from J-Dub and Shea were huge. The three-point shooting of Wiggins and Wallace were so important. But really, where they were able to get some separation in the second quarter was their defense and getting some extra possessions on the offensive boards. I mean, you look, 3 starters had 5 or more offensive rebounds. They had 19 as a team. I mean, that's just so huge. Where the Pacers had 18 themselves. There were a lot of offensive rebounds to be out there, but it felt like the tip outs that Lou Dort and Hartenstein in particular were getting were so just backbreaking for the Pacers when they were trying to come back.
It's one of the things I said again in the last live pod I did. I wanted Hartenstein to be more involved in the offense regarding high pick and rolls, him getting the ball, making the right pass. And he did that today. I saw it early on and it was great. And then it comes down to him doing everything better. Like he gets in a groove, he starts feeling himself, and then he's going to play more aggressive. And Lou Dort on the offensive end, every time I see that man just running around just doing laps around the side of the court, and he's just somehow always just gravitates to the ball and gets it right away, kicks it out, doesn't turn it over. It's one of the things I remember seeing. Even Chet getting a bunch of his own offensive rebounds and others. On some of the times, whenever you try to take a dribble, the Pacers had great hands and great defense and would knock it off and turn. Lou Dort right away would always just try to kick it out right away. It was incredible to watch.
Yeah, the role play. I mean, the game plan, like you said, Ben, was kind of executed to perfection as far as getting those second chance opportunities with all those role players. What did you think of the way that Lou Dort and Chet and Caruso off the bench, the impact that all those guys had?
I thought this guy's overall gave the good impact. Caruso, he was phenomenal. I mean, he didn't score really that many points, but it doesn't really matter. He played his main role by being a disruptor, and he was a great disruptor in this game and forced multiple turnovers. Once again, this game just continues to be absolutely brilliant defensively. Save Lou Dort. He's just continues to consistently be super good defensively too. And he was super good at locking up Halliburton when he was guarding Halliburton and other guys in the scheme. Chet, I mean, he didn't have like a amazing game or anything, but he did fine. He scored some points and he did make a good impact though with some rebounding and some defense, I would say.
Yeah, some of the blocked shots that he had in the first half, it was unbelievable. I mean, him and Shea combined for 7 blocks. I mean, it's not only the offensive end for even their star players. They're getting it done on the defensive end. Shea had 6 stocks in this game. He was spectacular defensively. And Joe, you should talk about the few steals he had and kind of how he was playing defensively.
The way Caruso, Dort, and specifically Shea, and what you were referring to is like one of the points, like he was playing lax defense and kind of playing off guys and be like, oh no, I forgot. And they were getting some wide open shots, which he shouldn't have been doing. And it's bad defense on his part, but he made up for it because the Pacers got in their head that he's going to keep doing that. And he played it that way and got so many just anticipation steals. Like he knew exactly where they were going and just played the passing lane perfectly. Same with Caruso, getting a bunch of tips. It's funny when we talk about the turnovers that the Pacers are having and the crazy defense that the Thunder was forcing upon them. It all came at like runs. Like it all came one after another. At one point there was the Pacers, what was it, the third quarter or was that the second quarter? They had like 4 possessions in a row and all 4 of them were turnovers.
Well, this was actually the fourth quarter.
Oh, that was the fourth
because I believe the Pacers, and we'll get to the Pacers. We're giving a lot of credit to the Thunder as you know, as I think we should. I mean, at a key point in the game, the Pacers had cut the lead down to 103 to 97, something like that. It was a 6-point game. And the Thunder forced 4 turnovers on 4 straight possessions, including right out of a Pacers timeout where Caruso makes one of the greatest defensive plays I've ever seen. That steal where he just, dives for the ball and is somehow able to hold on and pass it off to get his team a possession. I don't think the Thunder scored on it, but at a key point in the game where you have that double-digit advantage and you kind of need some extra time to come off the clock, especially out of a Pacers timeout, that was unbelievable. That play, that steal.
That's the thing. Caruso, man, he shot 1 for 8 today. Didn't shoot great at all. Had a bunch of wide open threes. And in the other games, he was hitting those. Today, he just didn't have it going. But he still had a +8 because his defense and his hands active. He had a couple times on inbound passes. He just saw him and just hit it out of bounds. Like his active hands and his defense and his awareness is just top tier.
Yeah, 15 steals for OKC. They forced 22 Indiana turnovers. And now let's talk about the Pacers a little bit. Now, there's a lot of things that we can point to here, but I think we need to talk about the number one thing that everyone's going to be talking about, and that is Tyrese Halliburton not making a basket in this game, not making a field goal. He only has 4 points, 0 for 6 from the floor, 0 for 4 from 3. All he did was knock down the 4 free throws. He had 7 boards and 6 assists, but overall, in the biggest game of the Pacers season here in a pivotal game, basically a no-show in the scoring department, not making a field goal. Joey, what do you think the Thunder did so well that made Halliburton just struggle like this?
A lot of the credit I have to give to Lou Dort because he was the one mostly guarding him anytime he was on the floor. And as much as I love to just talk trash on some of these star players that some people think are overrated. I love jumping on the bandwagon, but we all saw he re-aggravated that knee injury or his ankle or whatever you're saying. It's his right leg. No matter what, it's his right leg that's messed up. And it was before then you could see he just wasn't having it because he was off. His shots were missing, but even then, I know they kept pointing to that on the broadcast. And he was still running out there. He was still playing decent. He just didn't have a shot going. And you're not going to get your shot going if you're only taking 6 shots in the game. You had 4 free throws, so I guess 8 shot total, field goal attempts, I guess. But, dude, that's not being aggressive. That's just not. Yeah. Anybody can get 8 shots. A lot of role players will get 8 shots in the game.
Oh, I mean, let's see. The 6 shot attempts, I mean, that's lower than a lot of these other key just role players, but there's no excuse for not taking more shots in this sort of game. Yeah. But I will say the injury, I think, did play, a factor there. I mean, of course it is. There's no way around it. But just, to start the game, Ben, Halliburton, he's typically come out in these first quarters and doesn't really look to score. It's of his nature to try to get his other guys involved. Problem is when he re-aggravates the injury, now there's no chance for him to get in rhythm and get aggressive. And that's what I really think hurt him. And even the few plays where he tried to get himself going and get a shot off, he just couldn't. The Thunder defense was just so locked down, and Halliburton he couldn't even get a shot off.
Yeah. Halliburton, as Jimmy said, was guarded really well by Lou Dort. The Thunder's swarming defense made things difficult on him. And yeah, that right leg, I mean, I thought, after he re-aggravated it, it just impacted him. It really didn't help him really being able to get things going. But I would have liked him to be more aggressive, but it wasn't easy. It was just unfortunate that something like this came in Game 5, which was their biggest game of the season, as Miles said.
Yeah, but even despite all that, and again, Halliburton, he didn't score that much, but I thought he still played decent for what it was, but even regardless of, arguably their best player, but an all-star, all-NBA player not making a field goal, Pacers made some key plays to cut the lead down to 2 in the second half. And the 2 biggest reasons were Pascal Siakam, once again, Mr. Consistent. He goes for 28, 6, and 5, great efficiency. But once again, TJ McConnell, my goodness, 18 points off the bench in 22 minutes. He went into full takeover mode in the third quarter to lead the Pacers back in a pivotal NBA Finals game. We're all here watching. I'm like, what world are we living in where TJ McConnell's leading a comeback in the NBA Finals?
It was incredible to watch. Like I said, I saw it the last time we were over here for a watch party in the live pod, and TJ McConnell's defense and just getting Benedict Mathurin involved and everything just took over in that second quarter. This time it was the third quarter. But he wasn't just passing the ball. He was looking to score. You could see every time he got the ball, he was doing a dribble move, doing a pick, and seeing nobody was there. And he's like, fine, I'm just going to take it myself. Some of the shots he was making, he's getting hit, taking mid-range shots, falling down, getting and ones. And you're just like, at what point does he miss? He scored at one, what was it, 6 for 7?
Yeah, in the
third quarter, 12 points. Like, that is just, he went absolutely ballistic. He was their offense. And with Halliburton's just
not being able to get a shot off.
Not getting a shot off, not being aggressive, hurt, injured, whatever you want to say. Why did McConnell only play like 3 minutes in that fourth quarter?
Yeah, and that's going to be a talking point as well. Is all right, TJ McConnell, amazing in the third quarter to lead the Pacers back. Why didn't he really play in the fourth quarter in crunch time? And I kept bringing up, it's just so difficult. I mean, this Pacers team has been constructed so well, and a lot of credit needs to be given to the front office for how they've constructed this roster to make it a legit finals team and a terrific, fluent team on both ends of the floor. But you have TJ McConnell, who can't play with both of your starting guards, Halliburton and Nembhard, particularly against a Thunder team that is so huge in the guard positions. So, obviously Nembhard has been so good defensively. Halliburton's been the clutchest player in the league, maybe in playoff history with all 4 of the shots he's made in the playoffs. You can't really have either of those guys off the floor. So it makes it so difficult. I think Rick Carlisle made the right decision with keeping, his starter guys in the game. But I could totally see why fans would be upset that McConnell didn't, get more minutes in the fourth quarter. Ben, what do you think?
Yeah, that was a tough decision for sure, it seemed like, for Rick Carlisle. But, I mean, Halliburton, really didn't totally seem to have it going. I mean, honestly, I would have given McConnell a few more minutes in there, but I could get how, that's difficult. But maybe McConnell could have still given them more of a boost in the fourth quarter. Maybe not. Who would have known? I think he could have, but it is what it is. And
Yeah,
Pacers are just going to have to learn for this game and get better for the next one.
That's what I was thinking. Like, I don't agree with the decision. Like, I would have taken Halliburton out, but like, if you're gonna label him a superstar, I know you can't take him out because he could always get it going. But we could tell in the first couple minutes that, but even before he re-aggravated it, he just didn't have it. And at that point, this is the finals. You got to give it to the hot hand. This is go big or go home. Play your cards, regardless of how it is. I don't know.
Yeah, see, that's one side of it. I think what Rick Carlisle will probably say in his post-game interview, if anyone asks a question like that, is we're in the NBA Finals. It's Game 5. We want to go down with our best guys. So there's both sides to it. But I didn't even realize. I pulled up the second half box score. Halliburton took 1 shot. Nembhard took 2 shots. You can't have that from your backcourt in the second half of a finals game. Now, despite all that, looking at the shooting numbers, they shot 60% in the second half, 43% from 3. They knocked down their free throws, but the big difference was the turnovers and allowing those second chance opportunities. 12 of their 22 turnovers were in the second half, and the Thunder doubled the Pacers on the offensive boards in the second half. Now, it was close there in the first half, and that's why, when I was looking at the offensive rebound numbers, I was like, wow, it was that close. It was only a 1 rebound difference, but it was those fourth quarter rebounds that were so huge.
It was so scrappy there at the end. Bodies flying everywhere. It looked like a slip and slide. The ball, nobody could hold on to the ball. That was just absolutely. That's where a lot of those offensive rebounds were. Yeah. Everyone was just flying everywhere.
Yeah, absolutely. But either way, this was just an incredible game. It was just so fun and entertaining to watch, and the storylines again, just incredible. We had some crazy plays. I mean, the Thunder had some posters to start off the game. The first play was the Hartenstein dunk.
Yeah.
J-Dub got himself a couple there. We had the Neesmith crazy putback dunk late in the fourth quarter where you couldn't really see what had happened.
What about Chet's spinning, getting like not even looking and just turning it around and throwing it in?
Yeah, that was unbelievable. There are so many top plays that you could put just from this game alone. So an incredible game, but of course the Thunder win it, and they are now one win away from winning the finals. Looking ahead to Game 6, that'll be on Thursday night back in Indianapolis. The first time all playoffs that the Pacers are facing elimination, but also the first time that they've trailed in a series, which is incredible for a 4th seed. I don't know if that's ever happened before where you're, seeding wise, you're the underdog in 3 of your series. And this is the first time that you've trailed in the series.
Yeah, it's one of the things I remember. I was just shocked that it didn't happen, relieved that it didn't happen this series, but the Pacers going up 2-0 in the series. Every single series they started 2-0.
Yeah,
it's just crazy.
Yeah, but looking ahead to Game 6, now the Pacers, of course, facing elimination back at home. Number one question I think we need to ask here is the question we've been asking really all playoffs, even though this guy has been so incredible, Tyrese Halliburton. What does he need to do to get himself going at the start of games? Because you can be a great playmaker all you want. You can't have games where you aren't making a field goal and only scoring 4 points. This is not the first time this has happened. All of their losses come when he doesn't shoot the ball. This is not an anomaly. When he isn't aggressive, the Pacers lose the game for the most part. So, Ben, I guess we'll start with you. What do you think Halliburton needs to do, whether it's off the court or on the court, to get himself going? Because they're going to need him if they're going to force a Game 7.
He should, make sure the legs are covered.
Yeah.
Hopefully ready to go for Game 6 more so. And like I said before, really, when he struggled, it's just he's got to be more aggressive in Game 6. He's got to, get his teammates involved, but be aggressive and take plenty of shots. And hopefully a lot of those shots can go in. And that's really it once again.
Comes down to it. Joey, what do you think?
I have no point. Like it's as simple as that. Like they were within 2 to 6 points in this game with Halliburton not making a field goal.
Yeah, they're right in it.
And he only took one shot in that second half, like you said. And that's when they made their comeback. All he's got to do is just put up more shots. It doesn't matter. At some point, it doesn't matter about efficiency, because if you don't have it going, you don't have it going. But you still have to score the ball and try to, because they look to him for offense. The amount of times in this game tonight, they looked for him, and he just kept passing the ball back or passing open shots and just trying to – I love the ball movement. I truly do. But if you want to be a superstar and you're going to be a superstar and they're treating you like a superstar – this is the superstar treatment. You don't do well, your team doesn't win. Mm-hmm. You have to play well, or not even play. You just got to score the ball. They literally could have used 5 more points from him, 1 3 and maybe 1 layup, and it would have been a 4-point game going into the last minute, and then we have a completely different ball game. They were playing TJ McConnell down the stretch eventually at the end, and who knows if they could have just got him going too. Anything could have happened. They just needed literally 2 shots to go in.
Yeah, I mean, to me, you don't, at this point of the year, you don't want to go away from what has made your team so successful and yourself so successful throughout this run. But I'm sure he knows, he knows better than anyone when he doesn't shoot the ball. It's not even that he doesn't shoot the ball well. When he doesn't shoot the ball, it doesn't work. It doesn't work. So to me, sometimes it's more important to just shoot a lot of shots than to make shots. We've seen really the last couple of years, I think the best example I can think of in a team example is really the Boston Celtics, where, their philosophy for the last couple of years and on to winning a championship last year, fire away from 3, because even if you shoot a garbage percentage from 3, unless it's so horrendously bad, if you take like 63s and you knock down 20 of them, even though you're only making a third of them, that's still good offense because you're knocking down a lot of shots. So I even think of Russell Westbrook when he was in his prime with the Thunder. You know, a lot of people would complain about his inefficiencies, but to me, I don't care about efficiency. Just score the ball. Just score the ball because you need points.
Yeah, that's why I will always say, like right now, at least right now in the finals, Pascal Siakam is the best player on that team. Just because even the consistency, every game you go in thinking, okay, well, our star players are each going to get us 20 points. Or in the Thunder's case, both of their players got 30 plus points. Their top duo, you can scratch that in the box score right away. 70 points from these two guys. I need the rest of these guys to literally get 20 to 30 points, and we're in a good spot. That's it. With the Pacers, you're going to get 25 to 30 out of Siakam almost every single game. But that's only 25 to 30 points. Any of that team can go off for a good 10 to 20 or 20 plus sometimes, like we saw with Benedict Mathurin in game 3. But Halliburton, you need him, not we. They need him to be a right away 20-point game. 20 points right there. Not even 20 points. In this case, 15 points. 15 points and his 6 and 7 assists or whatever it was.
If he gets a double-double, then they should be fine.
They're set.
But yeah, he's definitely the number one player that has to play better going forward.
Efficiency out the window. Who cares?
Right.
Get baskets.
just score the ball. And if you're not going to, then someone else needs to really be going off because it's not like Nembhard, it's not like he had that crazy of a game. He didn't really have any super standout moments in this game. Besides McConnell, nothing too crazy from the bench either. No. But of course, Halliburton, the number one guy that needs to get going, Ben. But as a team, another game where they turn the ball over a lot, 22 in this game, and it costs them down the stretch. So how can the Pacers combat this Thunder defense and avoid turning the ball over? It's a lot easier said than done, but what do you think they could try and do? Because there have been points where they've been better at taking care of the ball.
That's a good question. I think they just need to make smart passes. There were a few times in Game 5 where a guy made a pass, and it was just not a smart pass, really. It was just the guy was covering, OKC was just able to get the steal. So you can't throw lazy passes like that, and you have to just have guys make good cuts to where you can get the ball to guys. Really,
yeah,
that's what I gotta say on that for now.
Yeah, I mean, you could say, how do we take care of the ball? Just be smart with the basketball. But this Thunder team makes it so difficult. Joe, do you have any ideas?
And I'll be honest, it goes back to the last point. It literally goes back to Halliburton, because when you watch their offense, Halliburton is best when he is the playmaker and he has the ball. And again, all props to Lou Dort and Cason Wallace and all the people who guarded him today, because they made sure he couldn't go anywhere or he couldn't get the ball. And a lot of their turnovers and steals, like you said, were lazy passes, or we saw Nembhard threw it away at the end of the game. And it's because they were trying to get the ball to Halliburton, but he was being too closely guarded. He did a cut one way, Nembhard threw it the other way, anticipating passes the Thunder were doing, because they're just swinging the ball around. No one's running around. When you watch the Warriors and Steph Curry is running all around off picks and stuff. They got none of that. They're literally just sitting around the outside and just passing the ball around, trying to get Halliburton the ball, because he's the one who's actually the shifty that gets all their movement going. I truly believe as soon as Halliburton has that a good game, they can win anything, win any game. And it's proof.
It's proven.
And all the stats and everything and all their wins and losses. But it literally fixes everything, whether his shooting, the efficient, like him scoring the ball movement of their whole team. Their whole team is built around Siakam and Halliburton and great role players. And if one of them isn't got it going, especially the guy who should have the ball all the time, or at least most of the time running that offense, and he doesn't even have the ball, or he's looking to pass all the time, you're not going to get any movement. And you saw it plain as day here.
Yeah, I mean, it's with this Pacers team, a lot of times in the fourth quarter of close games, you sometimes see the ball in the hands of Andrew Nembhard, and he'll go pick and pop with Turner or Siakam and things like that because the primary defender is, obviously going to, guard Halliburton very tightly so he doesn't get the ball. And Halliburton's had incredible moments within that, of course.
Mm-hmm.
But, I mean, look, with any team, any championship team, you say this going into every single playoff series, every finals, every season, in order for your team to be successful and get to where you want to be, your best players have to play at their best. And if they're going to be in situations where it's a Nembhard Turner pick and pop at the end of games or Siakam, Halliburton's not involved, it's not going to work. It's not going to work. You need your best players to play at their best. And we're seeing that here with the Oklahoma City Thunder, where their two best players combined for 71 points, which has got to be up there for one of the best duo performances by a pair of teammates in finals history. And the numbers in these finals, Shea's averaging 32 points per game, J-Dub at 26 points per game, and that's with him struggling the first two. He stepped up the last three games. This is a team where no one else is really going crazy counting stats wise, but they're all doing their job, and the best two players are playing at their best. Indiana, it's all spread out, and it's all spread out decently enough, but there's nothing too crazy. There's nothing too crazy. And at this point, when you're at the finals with the two best teams from each, with the best teams from each conference, again, you need your best players to play at their best. And for the Pacers, Siakam has played very well. Halliburton needs to play better. And a lot of it probably did have to do with the injury, but he's going to have to be better. He's going to have to be better.
This is the NBA Finals. If you're out there, you're hurt. You're not injured.
Correct.
So, and if you're hurt and not injured, and it's the finals, you got to give it everything you've got, no matter the cost. This is a championship. You don't get many chances like these.
No question about it. So a couple more questions before we move on here. Let's talk about OKC's perspective heading into this game because, of course, they're one win away from getting a championship, the first championship since moving to Oklahoma City. And they're going to have to do it on the road if they want to get it done in Game 6, a place where even though they split games 3 and 4, wasn't the prettiest thing ever, but they got the job done. How can OKC play better on the road, and what do they need to do to make sure that this thing ends on Thursday night? What do you think, Joey?
Well, I don't know. They almost gave this game away. As much as we have dogged on Halliburton and praised a couple of the other guys for the Pacers, and have absolutely praised the entire Oklahoma City Thunder. Like you said, it was not perfect, and they haven't played the greatest on the away in Indiana. So one of the big keys is they got to play a complete game. You can't take plays off. They took some plays off in this game, gave up a couple easy layups for TJ McConnell, and then that turned into the 6-for-7 run that he took over in that third quarter and brought them within the 2 to 4 points. Like, you can't just let plays off like that. They got to play a complete game. Lax defense, sometimes throwing the ball. Like, they weren't great turnover wise either. Let's be honest. Like, as great as their defense was, Indiana's was good too. They still had a decent amount of turnovers. How many is that?
Let's see. 11 turnovers.
It's not great. It's not great. Anytime you're over 10, it's not. You could always do better.
Yeah.
Even though, again, you made them do double that, but still.
At least they were moving the ball more, and it resulted in a lot more threes, Ben. They made 3 threes in Game 4, 14 for 32 in this game, and it came from all across the board. A lot of their role players chipped in there. How can they keep this going? Because, again, in Games 3 and 4, it didn't look the same. I mean, Indiana had Game 4 before Shea went crazy there at the end.
Yeah. OKC, I just think, once they started taking some 3-point shots, they were falling. I think they were just feeling it. We're feeling confident of the team where they look to kick it out to their good rule guys. They would knock down threes, and they took more in this game, knocked down more because, they were just feeling more confident for during this game. And you really got to get it going for free to try and keep it with the Pacers on their home floor. So you got to hope that's the same kind of thing in Game 6.
Yeah, because the Pacers are going to be coming out there with a response. I mean, they've lost back-to-back games for the first time, I think, in 3.5 months, I think is the crazy thing. Beginning of March is the last time that they lost back-to-back games, which is incredible. So they'll have a chance to force a Game 7 on their home floor again. That'll be on Thursday. And the Thunder will have to be ready. They can't go in with thinking that there's a cushion of a Game 7 on your home floor. Don't want to go in thinking that. And I think we're going to get a very highly played game, a very greatly played game on Thursday.
It was very fast paced this game, Game 5, and I'm expecting even better next game because regardless of Hallie's health, I don't think he's going to have another game like this. I'm just not going to bet on it.
Yeah, and he's going to play. Obviously, he's going to be fine. He's going to play. Yeah. So I just cannot wait for that. Let's quickly get some predictions in here. Joey, I have a feeling. What are your predictions?
I am picking the Pacers because I don't think Halliburton will have another game like this. And as per my last couple predictions, I think ever since after Game 2, I've predicted every game, and I think I know how it's going to play out. So I'm thinking Pacers this game.
Yeah, all right. We got Nostradamus over here trying to predict every single game. Ben, what do you think? What do you think is going to happen in Game 6?
It's another tough one to pick. It could go either way, but I'm the Indiana Pacers as well. I just think Tyrese Halliburton will be better, and I think the Pacers will come out and play really well from the home crowd, have a great response, and I think they'll take care of the basketball better and get more going offensively, get more shots knocked out offensively, get more out of role guys. It should help with them that they're at home. Role guys tend to play better, as we've noticed, in home games recently than road games, and I think, Rick Carlisle's coaching has had to make great adjustments.
Yeah, I've got Pacers as well. Well, 3 of us going with the Pacers. Man, if there would be a Game 7, that would be
the 2 best words in sports. Game 7.
That is what we want at this point. And yeah, I mean, it's another thing too. I mean, role players play better at home, as we've seen throughout this series. And really, besides Caruso's heroics in Game 4, Thunder role players have not played well on the road. We'll see if anything changes. I think there's always a little bit of a difference when you go on the road the second time in a series. So we'll see what happens there. But we'll see, man. We'll be back here on Friday to discuss, and we will see whether we have a champion or a Game 7. I cannot wait for this game.
I'm so ready.
I'm so ready for Game 6 already, but still a couple more days to go. And in the meantime, we have a trade to talk about. We have an entire trade to talk about. A trade during the NBA Finals to discuss here with the Orlando Magic.
Orlando Magic.
A huge trade a huge trade that came out of nowhere on Sunday afternoon with the Magic trading for Desmond Bane from the Grizzlies. And in return, they gave up a lot. They gave up Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, Cole Anthony, and 4 unprotected first-round picks, including the 16th pick in this year's draft, next year's unprotected Phoenix Suns first-round pick, which could be very, very good. They gave up their first-round picks in 2028 and 2030, the Magic, that is, as well as a lightly protected swap in 2029. So this was huge. Again, this came up randomly on Sunday afternoon, on Father's Day. We're all out, celebrating, and randomly a trade pops up. I guess first, what were the initial reactions, Ben, when you learned of this trade?
I'm surprised. I mean, I wasn't quite expecting a trade that happened while the finals was going on, that this would be the trade. I was thinking, when I saw Miles type in the group chat, random trade, I was thinking, wait, is this Kevin Durant already? And I was like, okay, time to check Shams on Twitter, and it's Desmond Bane. Wow. And when I first looked at it, I was like, yeah, I'm not too surprised the Grizzlies ended up doing this. I was thinking before, maybe they would want to trade him this off season. There was a few rumors on that. but people weren't really sure. And sure enough, it happened. And I wasn't quite expecting the Magic to get him. There wasn't really any talks on the Magic getting him. But I think, for the Grizzlies, it's a great trade. I was impressed with all they were able to get back for him. 4 unprotected first round picks. And then Cole Anthony and Tavius Caldwell Pope. That's a ton to get back for Desmond Bain. That's great value in a trade for him. And I think it's time for the Grizzlies to shake things up and kind of look to build more around Ja Morant and Jaren Jackson Jr. And I think Tavius Caldwell Pope, they decided to keep him to fit in with those guys. And then, for the Magic, it's a good trade for Desmond Bain. It's a lot to give up, but should help the Magic because they can use another good scorer, and their biggest weakness last year was the 3-point shooting. This guy
Last couple
good,
years,
consistent 3-point shooting. So it's good for both teams, I think.
Yeah, Joey. Well, I guess first, initially, I'm sure surprised like all of us.
Yeah.
But seeing the package for Desmond Bain, it's a lot.
It's a lot.
Is it too much?
I am very mixed on this. And because when you look at it, Luka Doncic was only traded for 1 first-round pick, and Desmond Bain is now, what is this? Technically 5 first-round picks or something, like 4 first-round picks?
4 firsts and a swap.
And a swap. Like, that's just a lot.
Yeah.
However, like Ben said, the Orlando Magic's biggest weakness is scoring efficiency, especially from that 3-point line. Desmond Bain is one of the most efficient scorers, 3-point, and like we were talking about a little bit earlier, he is a very underrated playmaker as well. He quite literally could be the missing piece for this Orlando Magic team. And I'm very mixed because it's a lot, but he is literally perfect for this team, and will and will take them to the next level. I have 100% faith in them.
Yeah, this is a team that, the last couple of years has been one of the best defensive teams in the league. Now, of course, last year, lots of injuries to their big 3 players, which made it very difficult. But even then, they were still the best defense in the league. And, although it was a 5-game series against Boston in the first round, they made the Celtics earn it in the first round. They made it very difficult. But offensively, dead last in 3-point makes, dead last in 3-point percentage, 3rd lowest points per game. Obviously, you had an idea that they were going to make some sort of move there to address the offense. Now, I guess we could get into some potential names that we thought they could have traded for coming up, but I'll talk about the assets that they gave up as well. Of course, Desmond Bain, a guy that, a great 3-point shooter, has never made an all-star game before. Getting traded for all these players.
all-star appearance. That's a lot for somebody who's never made. Might be able to, I think he might make an all-star appearance depending on how this goes, but Eastern Conference, you have a better chance.
Yeah, that's part of it too. Western Conference is so stacked with the guards, and you already have Ja and Jaren. At best, you're the second best player on the team. Very difficult in that situation. But for the Magic situation, this is a guy that they needed, or an archetype of player that they needed. Great 3-point shooter throughout his entire career. A tough defensive player, so he fits in like that. An underrated playmaker, has averaged over 5 assists the last couple of years, and he fits in to the starting lineup beautifully. Taking a look at their starting lineup, they're all still young. Suggs and Wagner are both 23. Paolo's 22. Bain's the oldest in the starting lineup, and he's 26. And all these guys are under contract for at least the next 4 years. So you are going to be competitive in an open Eastern Conference with, Paolo and Franz and Suggs. So much room to get better as well. So personally, I think it is a lot, but this is the right move. The Orlando Magic needed to make an all-in type of move on this. We see every team throughout the course of a rebuild, like I mean, we're Cavs fans. The Cavs traded for Donovan Mitchell a couple of years ago, gave up a haul, of course, and obviously Mitchell on a much higher level than Desmond Bane, but you have to give up a lot to go all in, and the Magic are going all in. And in the grand scheme of things, KCP, good veteran, good defensive player, not a good three-point shooter this year like he has been in the past. So he's only getting older. He's someone that was going to be expendable. Cole Anthony, fan favorite in Orlando. He's someone that the fans are going to miss a whole lot. Brought them a lot of energy.
Big fan of him, though.
Yes, but at the end of the day, they wanted to open up some point guard minutes for Anthony Black, a youngster who could be pretty good for them anyway. So he was going to be expendable. And then the picks, I mean, 16th pick this year. The Phoenix pick is, of course, the big pick, but I think that's very, reliant on the Suns tanking because they don't have their own pick. So that could end up being a top 10 pick, but that'll probably be the best pick considering that 2028 and 2030, all those guys are going to be in the middle of their prime or at the beginning of their prime, at the peak of their powers. Those picks could be mid to late 20s at the end of the first round picks. So at the grand scheme of things, you're giving up a Phoenix Suns first round pick that could be 9 or 10 potentially for Desmond Bane, who is an all-star caliber player who fits in with everything you need. And you really didn't give up anything that you valued. That's a W. That's a W to me, in my personal opinion. And Joey and I were talking about this trade beforehand. I was a little bit off even on the contracts. The 2030, Suggs, Wagner, and Paolo Banchero are all going to be under contract. So there's no worry about any of those guys. Paolo Banchero still has to sign his, big rookie extension. But pending the extension, which would be 5 years, he'll be under contract till 2031. So all those guys are going to be there. So in the grand scheme of things, you traded the Suns pick for Desmond Bane. That's a W to me.
Yeah. The only thing I will put out there and say is don't sleep on that 2030 pick. It could be. And like you said, the 26 Phoenix pick, that's because someone who we're going to mention very soon could be on the move, and they're going to keep Devin Booker. So they're going to be competitive. They're probably going to get a haul. So that pick might not even be that good. But that 2030 pick, where I'm expressing my concerns only because we're seeing it with the Celtics. We see it with a lot of teams where they handcuff themselves with all the contracts and they have this window. The Orlando Magic have now set their window to that 2030. That's their championship window from now until 2030, at least for this trade specifically.
Yeah.
When we get later down the line and whatever else moves they make in the near future will obviously alter it. But at this point, eventually you're going to have to pay these guys. You may need to take a year off like the Celtics. And again, it's amplified because Tatum's Achilles. But this year, we all know the Celtics are going to have a fire sale and they're going to take a year off. And there's going to be a high draft pick probably in the future, in the next year. But it's only going to be for that year. I'm predicting that maybe that 2030 Orlando pick could be one of those because a lot of those contracts, a lot of those guys are going to want to get paid a year or two before their contract is up. So at that point, they're going to have to make a lot of tough decisions, or if they want to trade, the most value they can get it is that year before. Just saying it's up in the air. It could be better for Memphis. I truly think this is like a win-win deal. I was comparing it to kind of like the Luka and Trae Young, where it's one of the last kind of deals I've seen that's pretty even a win-win for both teams. But I truly think this can be a win-win for both teams.
It could be. I'm still a little curious on why Memphis traded Desmond Bane for a package like this.
Picks are
because
enticing.
Picks are enticing, and you do get the one Suns pick, which is going to be the pick. I mean, 2030 Orlando, that definitely that could have a chance because again, it's 5 years down the line. Yes. So much changes in even 1 year. Yeah, exactly. You don't know what could happen in 5 years. But in the green, I'm very curious to see what Memphis is going to do moving forward. Yeah, I feel they're going to build around John Morant and Jaren Jackson Jr. most likely. I don't think that either of those guys would get traded. But if I'm not mistaken, Memphis is one of the few teams that has built up, their stock. They're one of the, competitive teams in the league over the last few years. But they didn't give up a whole lot of their own first-round picks either. So now they have a whole bunch of first-round picks stashed. I'm wondering if they're going to eventually use those in a future trade for the next star that is available. Maybe it's a Kevin Durant trade. I don't know. I mean, that'd be an insane dark horse.
That would be a crazy switch around.
Yeah, and then it would change a whole lot of things about what the
Yeah.
Suns would end up doing with their season, since they have control over their next couple of picks.
I bet Phoenix would love to get their pick back.
Yeah, they probably would. They probably would. But Ben, with this Orlando Magic team, their team is basically already set really for next year, even though we're still in the finals. Looking at their roster, I mean, all their guys, the guys with the asterisks on the screen, there are team options. Corey Joseph and Gary Harris were both declined to free up $11 million to probably re-sign them to more cheaper deals, because now you've got, like I said, all those guys are under contract. They've already signed their deals. So this is going to be one of the more expensive teams in the NBA. But overall, on paper, they look really, really good. Ben, how good do you think this team can be?
I think this team could be a contending team in the East. I think they could be up there as one of the better teams in the East as long as they stay healthy. I think they'll take a leap offensively with the 3-point shooting, and I think they're going to continue to be really good defensively. They got multiple great defenders on that team. Desmond Bain, he's not a bad defender himself. He's a good defender, I believe, too. And I'm thinking they might sign someone in free agency, possibly, that could help them. Should look at maybe possibly doing a bit more upgrading. I think the bench could still use some more work, but that starting lineup, that looks really good right now. That's one of the better starting lineups going into next year in the Eastern Conference.
Yeah, something that is very glaring, obviously. Of course, you have, solid bench players, but nothing too insane. Although they get Desmond Bain, who's a great three-point shooter, doesn't fix that he is the only, reliable three-point shooter on this team. So they're going to need they're still going to need to do some moves to get some more shooting onto this team. Now, they traded away their 16th pick. They still have the 25th pick in this year's draft, so they'll probably look to draft a sharp shooting wing if that's still available for them at that point. But besides that, I mean, I'm sure some shooters would be open to going to Orlando, since it is a young up and coming team that just made this sort of move. But what other things do you think this Magic team really needs to do here? And again, a wide open Eastern Conference to really fortify themselves as contending teams.
I think this year is the year they need to do it. Like I already with the unfortunate thing with Tatum and the Celtics, they're probably going to be not near the top. Who knows how things are going to shake up this upcoming off season and going into the season. But I definitely think they have a chance to get top 4, along with New York, Indiana, Cleveland. They're definitely going to be up there as a contending team. And I need to see the improvement. That's what I love Jamal Mosley as the coach. I love a lot of their young guys. I love their team. Big Orlando fan, buying stock in it right now. But the last 2 years, and I know this year, again, bad season. And unfortunately, you got matched up with Boston after what a rough season. But you need to do something in the playoffs. You need to get past the first round. Hopefully get past the second round. But getting past the first round, we saw with OKC. Hopefully we see it with Cleveland. But they're stepping stones. And if you don't improve, and it does come down to the playoffs, because regardless, I think this team's going to be good and make it to the playoffs. They did last year, and they had an off year and all the injuries. So they're good enough regardless without Desmond Bain to get there. So with him, they're going to do even better. It really just comes down to the playoffs, and they just kind of have to lock in and show that kind of improvement, because that's where it matters. That's where you're sending all these picks for, to do something in the playoffs.
Yeah, and you're going to need some of that internal development as well, with the shooting as well, because you can acquire some shooting, but I mean, you already have a lot of solid guys on your team, and your star players need to be able to also get a respectable 3-point shot. Franz Wagner, oh my gosh. we need get rid of the hitch on the jump shot. We need some better 3-point shooting there. That's for sure. But even Paolo's good in stretches. Suggs had one good 3-point shooting year. It definitely tailed off a bit more. He had a bigger role this year because he was able to pop off a little bit when some of the guys were hurt and get his counting stats looking good. But they're going to need some internal development from the 3-point shooting and as well as the playmaking, because that is still something that this team doesn't really have. They don't really have a true point guard on this team. And that's why, when looking at Orlando Magic trade targets for this offseason, basically all the guys we were thinking were point guards. Guys like Trae Young, maybe Darius Garland, Anthony Simons, point guards that could set the table for himself and also other guys. They don't get that here. Now that isn't to say that they can't make a deal going forward, but I wouldn't think that after a big move like this that they would then do a Jalen Suggs trade. I mean, I don't think so. No. So this is going to be their team. At least that's going to be their starting five, unless they look to trade Wendell Carter or Goga Bitadze to get maybe some more shooters on that team. I mean, they have 3 solid centers that can play for you, and at a time when all of them are healthy, one of them is not going to play. So and they all have value around the league. So that'll be interesting to watch. Do you think, before we move to the Grizzlies quickly, do you guys think that Desmond Bane was the player that they should have gotten, or should they have looked to get a point guard like an Anthony Simons, like we talk about, or a Trae Young, or someone like that?
I feel like even though this may seem a lot, like we've broken down like all the picks and how all that kind of stuff and how it actually like face value, like it looks good, but it's not. You got to look a little deeper into it. With all the other guys, it would have had to been really much more stuff, because Anthony Simons, even on the lowest end, is someone who the Blazers are investing a lot of stock into, and they want him to be kind of that future and building block along with Scoot Henderson, Denny Avila, and all the other guys. Like, they want him to be there and be kind of the guy. So you're going to have to give a lot. Trae Young, we know who he is. DG, we know who he is. Like, I feel like this was the best target they could have done, honestly. And like we said, with playmaking, he has played point guard when Ja was out, didn't do a bad job. So who knows? You might see a lot of switch ups. It's going to be a lot of trying to find their own foot in training camp, preseason, and probably even like a month into the season.
Yeah, and the interesting thing is, Ben, all those guys in the starting lineup, say they don't really have a traditional point guard. All those guys are decent playmakers. Paolo, I think, is a terrific playmaker at the 4 position. Wagner's good, Bane's good, Suggs is solid. Do you think that Bane was the guy that they should have gotten, or should they have looked at a point guard?
I think he was Desmond Bane, because I think he fits great on that team. He's pretty good, consistent 3-point shooter, and with Darius Garland and Trae Young, I don't really know if they would have been able to even get him in a trade, because the teams like the Hawks, I don't think the Hawks were interested in giving up Trae Young to the Magic, especially because Magic are another team in the Eastern Conference.
And their division is staying away.
Division. And for the kids, maybe they were willing to trade away Garland, but I mean, I like the idea of Desmond being on that team better than Darius Garland. And the Blazers, I don't think would have really have traded Simons. Would have been Hall, as Joey said, and kind of the same thing with Kobe White and the Bulls. So right by them.
Yeah, absolutely. And a lot of those teams, Cleveland, Atlanta, Chicago, you don't want to make a trade to a team in your conference that's looking to get better when you're also trying to compete as well. It's not really a good recipe as well. So options were maybe a little bit more limited than we may have thought. And I'm still a little shocked that Bane was made available, but the Magic jumped right on it. I know their fans are incredibly happy with this trade. I saw a great, little history thing about the Magic. They've been to 2 finals in their franchise history, one in 95, I believe, or 94 or 95.
95.
And 2 years prior, they had acquired Horace Grant, or maybe 1 year prior. They got Horace Grant to pair with Penny and Shaq.
Yep.
In 2007, they traded some assets to get Rashard Lewis, who was a key all-star for the Magic, who made the finals 2 years later. This might be another move that leads to a future finals appearance for the Orlando Magic. Only time will tell.
I definitely can see them making at least one finals appearance by the year 2028.
Yeah, definitely could happen. Quickly on the Memphis side of things, Ben, why do you think they decided to make this move and make Bane available? Of course, it was a up and down season there in Memphis. Of course, firing Taylor Jenkins at the end of it, not really beating competitive teams and going out in the first round. I mean, I think there was going to be some shakeup, but are you surprised that Bane was the one that was traded, or what do you think?
I wasn't, because, thinking back to it would have been a good idea for the Grizzlies to run it back with those three guys, in my opinion. They needed to kind of shake it up and kind of retool. And I'm not surprised they were thinking Desmond Bane. Would have been hard to trade away Ja Moran or like maybe Jaren Jackson Jr., but you'd rather keep Jaren Jackson Jr., Ja, than Desmond Bane. They're even better. And Desmond Bane was a good player for them, but just he was kind of odd man out. They had to move on from him, and I like that they were able to find a way to talk with the Magic, who was interested, and then find a way to get back all of that stuff for Desmond Bane. That was a great return for the Grizzlies. They're really loading up the first round picks, which should help for the future. And maybe KCP could fit in with the team that they're trying to retool. Possibly Cole Anthony, I don't think he could really fit in there. I think they should look to possibly send them to somewhere else, like maybe the Milwaukee Bucks in a trade, possibly.
That's not a bad idea.
Yeah,
That's not a bad idea. Joey, what do you think about the Memphis side of things?
Well, I'm not a big fan of. I just don't know what they're doing. There's no real track that I'm seeing. Like, this is obviously a good start, but I'm really not a fan of firing your coach right before the playoffs, regardless. And obviously, it didn't play out. They played just absolutely horrendous. So if you were going to do that, not surprised they're shaking it up. They got a decent return. I really don't know what they're going to do, though, because this is a good start, but it really depends what they do with it. Because like you said, they got a lot of first-round picks, and they can kind of replace Desmond Bane because KCP didn't have a great year this year, but he's still a solid veteran that can help. Cole Anthony's a spark plug. Scottie Pippen's been great for them, so they could always play Ja Moran and Scottie, or Ja Moran and KCP, or Cole Anthony. They can do some things to kind of mask what Desmond Bane did for him, but it's going to be real tough. I really don't know where they're going, but it's a good move for them. It's a lot of stuff. You're praying for luck that Phoenix and that later Orlando pick do well for you, but who knows?
Yeah,
it's a lot of just faith.
It is, and I'm a little confused by it as well, that they would do it this early into the offseason, or this offseason at all, because
it's technically not even the offseason. Like you said, we're still in the finals.
Yeah, I mean, in their offseason, but for Memphis, they fired Taylor Jenkins to hire Isolo, their new head coach, who is seen to be an amazing, revolutionary offensive coach over there overseas. And he got a little test trial there the final month or so of the regular season, and a couple playing games and 4 games in the playoffs. But I mean, he didn't get a training camp to have Morant, Bane, and Jackson there together, which in theory could have been an amazing offensive team if you thought that Taylor Jenkins was holding you back on the offensive end, and you wanted to go with Isolo for more offensive skills like that and his coaching ability. So I'm more shocked that he didn't get a chance really to start a season with those 3, and that they already moved on when this team is still going to be in the middle of the West. I don't see this really changing much for them. I mean, there was a large part of the regular season where they were the second seed in the Western Conference. That was just how crazy things were in the West. But things turn around and there was going to be a shakeup. But even with this shakeup of losing one of the best players in their franchise's history, it's not really going to change a lot for them, in my opinion, going forward here. Because again, you bring in KCP, who I think will start because he's a good 3-and-D guy. Normally, he's not going to. I don't think he'll shoot as bad as he did this year again. But again, you already have Ja, you have Scottie Pippen Jr. Where's Cole Anthony going to play? Even he might be a guy that gets traded again. So I don't really know. I think it is a lot of faith, but I just don't really agree with them doing it like this, in the offseason.
What grade would you give both of these teams?
Yeah, let's give grades for this. I guess for Orlando, honestly, I'm gonna give this an A. It was a lot, but I saw a Magic fan, put this in perfect terms. They were going at it, on Twitter. One was like, "Oh my God, we just traded our future to get Desmond Bane. Like, what is this?" Well, Jet Howard, you want to just draft 3 Jet Howards again, who isn't really doing much at this point, and just draft that caliber of player instead of trading for Bane, who accelerates. He raises the floor and potentially the ceiling of this team because of his shooting. So to that, besides that Suns pick, there's really, in my personal opinion, I know the 2030 pick could be something, but you really got Desmond Bane for nothing at that point besides the Suns pick. There's really and you have these guys under contract, so there's not really much to lose in this situation for me. So the Magic get an A. Memphis Grizzlies, I'll go with a C- because they did get a lot of picks, but I just don't think that I don't think that this does enough for them. It's not like this is going to propel them into some sort of rebuild or anything. Ben, what do you think? What grades would you give this trade?
I would give it, around the same for the Magic. It's an A- for Orlando. It was a good trade. Really. Desmond Bane fits in with them great, as I said, and he'll help elevate the team going forward and will help make them a top team in the Eastern Conference going forward. And then for the Grizzlies, I have to give it a E+, actually. It's different than Miles.
A+?
Yeah. Because they, I thought it was kind of a interesting move, but I think they needed to shake something up, kind of like that, and move on from Bane, just retool going forward with Moran and Jackson. You got so many assets back, so many first round picks for Desmond Bane is a good player, but not like a superstar. So I really think it was good for the Grizzlies. I think these first round picks are going to help them in the future, maybe for some possible future trade they'll want to do.
That is true. First round picks are first round picks at the end of the J. Joey, what do you think?
Probably have to go the same as Ben. A- for the Magic. Obviously, I think this is the missing piece. I think they're going to do great, but again, it's all dependent on if it pays out. I have the utmost faith that it's going to work out, though. I truly do. Grizzlies, I'll go right in the middle of these two. I'm going to go a B, like just straight B, because the first round picks are great. They're not great when you look into it. However, anything can happen. They're 3, 4, 5 years away now.
Yeah.
You can a first round pick swap. Like, you can always move those to get a bigger player if you need to. Or like you said, regardless, they were going to, even with Desmond Bane, they were going to be in the middle of the pack. So maybe you take it back for a second, retool. You don't need a whole lot. You just, with all those first round picks, it's kind of the same thing we were saying with Halliburton. You take a bunch of shots, you're going to make a couple. You have a bunch of first round picks. You start doing it, you only need 1 or 2 of them to be like really good role players, or even like solidify himself and find a diamond in the rough to be a star for him, to be a third star to pair with John and Jaren, because now you're already back in the middle of the pack or even higher. This team, not many years ago, was a 2 seed when everybody was healthy and everything was going right. They don't need a whole lot else I feel like, to get back to at least playoff contention, even with losing Desmond Bane. And who knows? I know it's a lot of faith for those first round picks, but if they do hold on to them and don't move them to get possibly another star to move, there's just so many options they could do. If one of those picks do, like the Suns happen to get a top 3 pick, or if the Orlando 2030 happens to be even a top 5, top 10 pick, that's crazy good luck and honestly totally worth it and could change that grade from a B to an A. Even you would say if one of those if both of those picks were top 10 picks, even you would have to say,
oh, then that's ridiculous.
An A. That's an A.
Yeah. All right. You guys have convinced me a little bit. I'll give the Grizzlies a C+. I'll give them a little bit more luck. Because first round picks, I mean, at the very least, they have more options. And I don't think that those later first round picks are going to turn into much, but you never know. They're good assets for future trades. I just don't know if I agree with the timing of it, because you did all that to fire Jenkins and hire Isolo, and then you don't even give him a chance to coach a big 3.
That's why, they have all the options, but they've been very confusing thus far. So I don't know if I have the faith that they're going to do right.
Yeah, that I just don't understand with why they wouldn't give it a try. But either way, I mean, they did probably maximize the value of getting 4 picks and a couple, solid role players. But a lot to talk about here today. But that's going to be it for us here. We'll be back on Friday to talk about Game 6 of the finals. And again, we'll see if we have a champion in OKC or a Game 7 on Sunday. Cannot wait until then to talk about everything. Maybe we'll have another trade to talk about by then as well. Guys, do you have anything else before we get out of here?
No,
I don't think so. Just keep your eye on Shams, because KD might be on the move soon.
He might be on the move soon. Apparently, he doesn't want to play in Minnesota, though, which is...
He does want to play in San Antonio, though, but who doesn't?
Yeah, right now, exactly. Well, thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed, leave a like, subscribe for more NBA postseason content. Hope you have a great rest of your day, and we will catch you in the next one.
Peace.